peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
I like this.
I love
this is very good.
I could drink a dangerously large amount of this.
A lot of people have asked for it, and we just finally figured out a good way to make it. Peanut butter and jelly mead. So here we go. To start with, we want to hydrate our yeast. And to do that, we're going to be using some of the jelly of our mead, which is Concord Grape Juice. Because if you think about it, most grape jelly is made from Concord grapes, right? So using Concord Grape Juice only makes sense. Plus, we've used it before, and it makes a really nice wine. And then when you mix it with honey...
Your label came detached, so be careful.
My label has come off. We don't need no stinking labels. I'm just going to pour some of that juice into here because we're going to hydrate our yeast. Now, what I mean by that is we're giving it a little bit of food, a little bit of nutrition to get it started so that it's well active by the time we actually start fermentation. And our yeast of choice today is...
Premier Rouge.
Premier Rouge, yes, by Red Star. I didn't know if that's what she actually said. Sorry, my right ear is almost completely blocked still from being sick, so I don't hear much out of that side, which means we probably should be sitting on the opposite sides. But, you know, it's easier this way.
It makes people angsty when we do that. We did that once before.
Yeah, they freaked out. It was really crazy. Okay, and I'm just putting half a packet in there.
Whack your packet.
Yep, general rule of thumb for yeast usage. Up to 3 gallons, I use half a packet. Over 3 gallons, I use a full packet. At 3 gallons, it's your choice. You can go either way. And I'm just going to let that sit like that. I'm going to add some Go Firm. This is optional, but I think it actually adds a little bit of help. It's just a little bit of extra nutrition for the yeast. We're just going to use 1/4 teaspoon. And
you remember, we're using dry yeast, and they're in a dormant state. So this is like their little cup of coffee.
It's breakfast.
Get them going.
It's literally breakfast for the yeast. I like that. Okay, and then I'm using my self-stirring cup, which is actually just the cup from a bullet blender, a NutriBullet blender, but it has little ribs inside, so you can do this. And it mixes it up for you. It also gets it all over the sides, but we just ignore that part and move on. Okay, next step.
As you can see, I have Star Sand solution in here.
And why is there Star Sand solution in that fermenter, Derica?
Because I sanitized everything with... Darn it! He didn't fall for the bait.
Because everything we used here has been sanitized in...
The red bucket of sanitization!
Which is literally a bucket off to the side filled with Star Sand solution. Now, Star Sand is, you buy it in a concentrated form and you dilute it. I mean, it's like a cap full for gallons of this stuff. It lasts a long time.
Read the directions and follow them as the manufacturer directs.
It is the preferred sanitizer for most homebrew uses. We are going to be experimenting with some others just because. And today we are using honey from North Mountain Supply. You can get this in 3-pound and 12-pound, I think, sizes right now. We'll have to verify that, or there'll be links in the description explaining. But I'm going to lick the thing. It's a pretty strong tasting honey. It's Wildflower. It's definitely got a nice floral aspect to it and works really, really well. Okay, I'm tearing out our scale. We're going to use 1.5 pounds of this honey. That's it. The reason why we're using 1.5 pounds of honey, in order to be a mead, from a technical standpoint, you have to have more of your fermentables come from honey than from anything else. So to be a mead, we need mostly honey. So 1.5 pounds of honey. That's going to add, let me do some math here, 1.5 pounds. Each pound adds about 35 points of gravity, or 1.035 specific gravity, times 0.035 gives us 1.0525. Let's call it 1.052 original gravity. So that's one thing. Then the next is going to be our juice. Which one was open? Oh, I need the label.
You need
though.
the label.
Yeah. So I know that 1 pound of honey takes up about 11 fluid ounces. So 1.5 pounds would be about 16 fluid ounces off of our 128 ounces in a gallon. Still with me? Sorry about all the math, but this is kind of important. So 128 minus 16 gives me 112 fluid ounces of the juice. Now the juice says per 8 fluid ounces, there's 38 grams of sugar. So divide 112 by 8, giving us 14 servings times 38 grams of sugar each, gives us 532 grams divided by 454. gives us 1.171800617 pounds. I'm pretty sure it's not quite that specific, but that's what the calculator is saying. Now I'm going to multiply that by 0.046. And you're probably wondering, why 0.046 if honey is 0.035? Because honey is honey and sugar is sugar. They're not actually the same. Sugar is more concentrated. So sugar gives 46 points, or 1.046 gravity per pound in a gallon of must. I know it's a lot of math, but just bear with me. Times 0.046 gives us 1.053. So, you know what? Technically, this is not a mead.
Dun, dun, dun.
Because we have 1.052 gravity of honey and 1.053 gravity of juice. Close enough, and you know what? I just don't care. If somebody wants to say this isn't a mead, I'm okay with that. I'm still calling it mead. That was just to show you that it just doesn't matter at a certain point. The predominant flavor of this is going to be honey mixed with other things. Therefore, in my opinion, it's still a mead.
Yeah, we're going to back sweeten it more than likely with honey, so...
Yeah, there'll be, well, you want to ferment it. It has to be fermented.
I know, technically.
And that's the technically rule. Rules, they're kind of guidelines. I mean, it's like the Pirates Code.
Oh, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, that actually came out nice. Okay. So next, we want to add in our juice. I'm going to add the juice in such a way that I can kind of rinse out the rest of the honey from our funnel here. Now, something else to note, all the numbers that I just did, that is the exact technical, but in reality, it may be slightly different. Honey could vary a little bit, the juice might vary a little bit, and I might not use exactly 112 ounces of the juice. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. So
it's not going to be more.
Could be more.
We only have 2.
I know, but they total 128 ounces.
Hey.
Yeah, see? The extra space is for the honey. Okay, 1 down. And now I'd like to actually start mixing this up because it's a lot easier to mix when it's half full, which means I need something.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
You got it.
I got it. And what I got is this. The Thumb Saver Bung. It's just a solid
stopper.
bung.
Yeah, there are caps for these jugs, but we've long lost those. We've had these things for like 10 years or more.
Yeah.
The reason why it's easier to mix is A, it's lighter, and B, I can get oxygen into that must, which is very important at this stage of the game. You want that to help the yeast colony build up nice and strong before they start actually consuming alcohol. Now, you don't actually have to mix if you don't want to, but it makes it really hard to get accurate gravity readings, so that's why we mix in the beginning so that we can show you where it started. It also gives you a good arm workout to do this. And I have a rule of thumb, but I don't want it to be taken so literally. Well, okay, sometimes it'll spit at you. The rule of thumb is, if you think you're done mixing, mix it for 2 minutes more. It's really not a rule of thumb so much as just a reminder that mix it well. That's all it is. Just mix it well. Obviously not mixed well. There's still honey in there. Now what I mean by you don't have to mix it is we did a dump mead where we didn't mix anything and it actually worked out really, really well. Now the disadvantage is you're not aerating that must. So it may have some struggles. Ours didn't that particular time. Okay, that's looking pretty well mixed. And you can see the color change.
Many times, if your brew is off-gassing a sulfuric smell, it's because there wasn't enough oxygen at the beginning.
Right, yep. Okay.
Ready for more?
More liquid.
Oh, okay. Shake it.
And we shake them up because there's some goop at the bottom. You know, every little bit helps. Not a bad idea. I'm not going to end up using the whole thing of this because it would overfill. And that was the whole point of only using 112 ounces. That's still quite a bit left, but I got a lot of foam in there. I'm probably just going to let that foam settle a bit because I know I still have to add in our yeast, which is sort of getting active. There's some little bubbles in there. Break them all up, get them moving again. Yeah, get to know each other. There you go. All right, but what I would like to do now at this point is take a pH reading to see kind of where we're at. And this is optional, but important because if your pH is way off, it could be a problem in a couple of different ways.
Do you want to mix it a little bit since
yes, I want to mix it a little bit because
gently though because of all that foam?
I don't want to make more foam. The foam is not really a problem, except that it prevents me from putting more volume in there because it can push up into the airlock and cause a mess.
Just gets in the way.
Yeah, it just gets in the way. Exactly. It does go down after a while, and it's not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be. If you have a pH meter, feel free to use that. I find the strips to be just as convenient because it's kind of a binary thing. It's either, well, it's tertiary. It's either too high, it's good, or it's too low. That's pretty much it. So I don't really worry about it too much. And I just need like a drop. Right. Just a drop. I got all that foam. That makes it hard to do. Looking like we're kind of acidic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in like the 2 to 2.5 pH range. Probably because the grape juice itself was acidic. And I know honey is also acidic. So had we just added our yeast, we could have had a real problem. This could have stalled. So how do we solve that problem?
We solve it by adding potassium bicarbonate.
You can use potassium bicarbonate. You can use potassium carbonate. You can use calcium carbonate. You can even use baking soda. But baking soda would be my least likely choice because it could leave a salty taste. This stuff will too if you use too much. So I like to start with about half a teaspoon because it's kind of a logarithmic scale. It's not easy to just gauge, I need exactly this much. There are calculators out there to help with that. I find it easier to just say, okay, it's really, really low. I need to add a significant amount. It's probably going to be a couple of teaspoons, but let's start with half a teaspoon.
Also, this is not going to help our foam situation at all.
Nope, it's going to make it worse, most likely. Not so far. Usually it foams up like crazy. It's that, reaction, like when you were in school and you used baking soda and vinegar together and it made the lava for a volcano. Same concept here. It's not really doing it.
I think we had so much foam already. That
Yeah, it's probably just sitting in the foam. It's probably not even in the liquid yet. Now we're probably going to get some.
Oh.
Yep. We have had it actually erupt out and over the top before.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, and I'm trying to avoid that. Ideally, we're looking for around 4 pH. Not much higher than that is not really great. Like past 4.5, we don't really want to do because that's where bacteria and things like botulism can grow if they are present. Now, they're not necessarily present, but if they're there already, the spores, they can grow and thrive. So we want to make an environment that's a little more hostile for that to happen. And too low, as we said, will actually kill the yeast and they won't ferment. Ideally, you do not want the drips to go back into your container after it comes off of here. Like mine went to the side rather than inside. Looks like we're kind of getting there. It's a little bit better. It's closer to 3 now. So, you know what that means?
More.
Another half teaspoon. Takes a very steady hand. And then I got to mix it again. Creating more foam and a lot of gases. See, that one wants to explode. So I'm just going to hold it. We'll just stay here forever now.
We got nothing else to do.
Oh, it wants to come out. It's like right up in the neck. The joys of home brewing. Very carefully hold it down for a little bit longer. It'll eventually subside, but it could take a little while. Oh, look at that. Just right to the top. Which is not helpful for the situation.
No, because we need to get that in there. And
all right.
you want to do the little...
I have an idea. I have an idea.
Okay.
We have a sanitized pitcher, correct? Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to pour it. So can you just kind of tip this a little bit?
Okay.
Just tip it a little.
It's going to push liquid, not the foam.
I know. That's the idea.
Oh. Now, at this point, as we already said, oxygen is no issue. It's actually necessary, so we're not concerned about that part.
But what I'm doing is getting rid of the foam. Because the foam's going to stay on the inside of the fermenter. And then we can just rinse that out in turbos or with water.
Yeah.
And then the foam goes away. Is there some amount of liquid still in there? Yeah, probably. I feel bad wasting things. But the rest of this is just going to be an annoyance.
All right, so go rinse that in the sink, and then I'll resanitize it.
Okay, now that we have this all set up, I can properly test our pH, since it still has a significant ways to go. Did I add the second teaspoon? I did, and that's when we had the foam problem.
Yeah.
So it's time for our third check. We're at 3. I still want it to be considerably higher, so I'm going to go with another half teaspoon. This will probably be the end. All right, that's somewhere between 3.5 and 4, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. That's close enough.
So that ended up being 1.5.
1.5 teaspoons. Now, I'm going to try to pour this a little more carefully so that we don't get as much air in there for foam. You tell I don't pour these things very often. Going dangerous. See, this pitcher that we have has this wonderful spout that allows it to be poured like this very, very easily. And I can probably eliminate a lot of the foam too. I joke about this pitcher all the time. It's got the graduated markings on the side, metric and American. But honestly, it's just awesome. Trying to not get all the foam in here because that would just defeat the whole purpose of what we just did. But there's a significantly amount. There's a lot less foam. Sound like Daffy Duck for a second there. Porky Pig. He's the one that can't get his words out. Don't ask me why that came to mind first. All right, I think I got all the liquid and left behind all the foam. And this is the point where we could have just edited the video and show you this instead of all the other stuff. But we're not doing that. All right. I think we should probably add in our yeast at this point and then top off with a little bit more of the grape juice.
Okay.
Our yeast is showing a little bit of foam, a little bit of activity there, so I'm good with that. And I'm just going to swirl it up and pour that right in carefully. There we go. And then now I can add more of the juice and get it up to that 1 gallon mark, hopefully without spilling it too much. Right around there. If you look on these 1 gallon fermenters, the words 1 gallon are actually written right about the bottom of those letters is actually 1 gallon or 128 ounces. We actually did a video on that where we measured it. I would show you that, except that on this particular bottle, it's really, really faint, so it would be very, very difficult to show. But there is the words 1 gallon written right there. Derek was concerned that adding more juice could change our pH reading, and she's not wrong. So let's do one more just for the heck of it.
Well, here's the issue. I think we would have to mix this in order to get an accurate pH reading, and then if we do adjustments, we're going to get more foam. So maybe just not worry about it.
Okay. Except that I just tore off a piece anyway.
Okay.
Well, I have to do we're going to do a specific gravity reading. I'll just take a pH reading off of that. How's that?
Sure.
Okay. So, as I just said, we're going to do a specific gravity reading, and this is to get our OG, our original gravity, which should be something like a 1.106 or so. Within a few points of that is not really a problem. By a few, I mean like 10 or 20 even. Doesn't really matter. Too much higher is not a good idea, but lower is not really an issue.
Now, I have concerns that the slight inversion he did there at the end may have not mixed it thoroughly enough, so we may have an off reading.
1.106.
Or we may have a perfect reading. Well,
and it looks pretty good.
Okay.
Looks good. It looks like we're, still 3.5 to 4, still in that range. It's totally okay. I'm just going to pour this right back in.
With all that craziness, Brian did a great job of limiting your foam. So yay, team.
Yeah. So that means it won't make a huge mess. But you know what we need now?
An airlock.
We do. Okay. And I'm just drying the airlock, and I'm going to dry the mouth of the fermenter just really quick to make sure this will hold. And just like that makes a perfect seal. I do recommend the use of airlocks. What? Did it just pop?
It just popped. I'll get a rubber band. That's fine.
No, I'm going to try it again. I do recommend the use of airlocks. It prevents bugs getting in, and it lets gases escape. If you don't let the gases escape, this is going to explode, okay? It's very, very important. As yeast ferments, don't you pop. As yeast ferments, it produces ethanol, which we want, and CO2, which we don't. And that CO2 will build up, and it will blow this up. It will literally make a bomb. You do not want that to happen. Also, something else.
Lets those gases out, so you don't have that problem.
Exactly. Something else very important. We called this peanut butter and jelly mead. However, so far, it's obviously absent the peanut butter. That's coming soon. It's been 3 weeks. Airlock is slowed down a lot. Time to take a reading. Not quite clearing yet, but it's not super cloudy either. Right now, it's sitting at 0.998. Now, I know what you're thinking. That means it's done, right? Not necessarily. 1.000 is just kind of an arbitrary thing. So we're going to let this go for 1 more week. And at that point, if it hasn't moved, that's when we decide that it's done. It's been another week. Time to take another check. Don't expect much difference. Shocking. It's still 0.998. So this is done.
So that means it's time to rack.
Yes. And right now it's just NJ Mead. We need to make it a PB&J Mead. We're working on it. Racking just means moving from point A to point B and using an auto siphon in our case, which is probably the easiest way to go. Derek is going to hold that in our lap. That way the destination is lower than the source. That's important when you're siphoning. There is going to be a Lee's cake in the bottom here, which is all the sediment.
See it from our point of view. It comes about to roughly there. So we're leaving the cap on. And
can you tell that everything was sanitized? You know, that's what all that is. All right. So I just go about halfway down. That way I don't disturb that Lee's cake. And then activate it to get it going. Once it's coming into the pitcher, good to go. See you in a couple minutes. It's been racked. So now, as we said, we need to add the PB into this NJ Mead. And for that, we're going to use extracts. There are ways to get actual peanuts in here. You can do what's called fat washing. I felt that that was a little bit too much for this particular video, but we might work on that someday. So we're going to be using the peanut butter extract from, who's this? Brewer's Best. You can get it on Amazon. We'll have links in the description.
I think we've actually used...
We did. Peanut butter porter.
Yes, but we have used PB Fit, I think.
It didn't work real well, though,
okay.
as I recall. Right. PB Fit is the defatted peanut powder.
Yes.
I think it just fell out.
We also made an extract once where we
That's right, we did. Soaked in vodka.
Was it PB Fit that we put?
I think so, yeah. Anyway, so
lots of ways.
Yeah, the bottle says 1 ounce per gallon. We have just about a gallon here, so I'm going to put in an ounce. I like my peanut butter pretty on the strong side, so, you know, I have a feeling that we might be adding some more. Oh my God, that smells so good. Can you smell that?
I can. I can smell what the rock is cooking.
Oh, so good. All right, well, I'm going to put it in. I know we haven't even tasted this yet, but what's the point? Right now it's J Mead. I need it to be PB&J Mead. So I know that joke's never going to get old, so get used to hearing it. All right, every drop. In this case, every drop does count because this stuff is, you know, you're not using a lot of it. So make sure you get all of it because you paid for it. Now I want to mix it around. It does smell like peanut butter and jelly, though. It does actually have that distinct peanut butter and jelly smell. I'll just give it a little taste. And this is kind of the way we like to do these adjustments, is just add in what you think is the least amount you should use, give it a taste, and then adjust from there. It actually kind of smells like peanut butter and jelly. I definitely smell the peanut butter. Needs more peanut. The jelly is coming through. It also needs sweetening, though.
Yeah. Why don't we put some sweetener in there?
Okay. Happen to have a nice big container of it.
Typically, we like to back sweeten with the honey that we fermented with, unless we're looking to change the flavor profile. In this case, we don't want to change the flavor profile. We just want more sweetness.
And every time we do this, somebody asks, how do you know how much honey to add? I don't. We put in, as I said, the minimum we think we might need, and you can always add more. But if you make it too sweet, it's kind of hard to take that back. Now, in this case, it's peanut butter and jelly. I mean, it's probably going to end up pretty sweet. That was a pretty good glug of honey that I put in there. I'll be honest, it was probably a little bit more than I really wanted to start with, but it's okay. I will rarely complain about something being too sweet, though it does happen on occasion. Make sure you mix this up real good, or else you're not going to get an accurate representation when you taste it. And when you put this back into a fermenter, you're going to have a whole bunch of honey at the bottom of the pitcher. Nobody needs that. Now I'm expecting that the peanut is probably going to be more subdued now because the sweetness of the fruit should come through. But I could be wrong too. On the smell, the peanut's still quite strong.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it doesn't smell bad. Like it smells like it's supposed to. It's getting pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I think it needs a little more sweetness though.
I'm getting stronger peanut in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Well, peanut's kind of like that too.
Yeah.
All right, it needs a little bit more sweetness. Another taste. Sweetness level is just about right.
Yep.
Needs more peanut.
Maybe just half as much.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
We just happen to have about that much left in the bottle too. Coincidence?
I think not.
I think totally. It's really interesting because on the smell, that extract really comes through. In the taste, it's kind of on the back note rather than up front. So it's kind of interesting. It's working. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is getting really, really close, and I think we're almost there. Like, this might be it. Loving the smell. Love that smell. Very strong peanut butter, a little bit of honey, a little bit of fruit.
I'm happy with that.
Me too.
All right.
That comes across as a peanut butter and jelly mead. But right now, there's something that we have to do. First, we're going to rack this back to a 1 gallon fermenter. It's just about at 128 ounces, so it's perfect. Then we're going to pasteurize this. The reason we're going to pasteurize this is because this was dry, and I don't believe we're at the yeast alcohol tolerance, but I'll tell you what the alcohol percentage is in a second. So there's a chance that it could restart fermentation because we just added fresh honey to it.
And we don't want it to re-ferment it because we like the sweetness level that it is now.
Right. Now, if you wanted to step feed to get this to finish out, you could add a little honey, let it ferment, add a little more honey, let it ferment until it stops and it stays non-fermenting for a few weeks, really.
Just make sure you keep it under airlock, please.
Yeah, and just be careful because you never know if it could restart again. Make sure you're past the tolerance of your yeast. I think we used a Premier Rouge, which I think is like a 14 or 15%, 13 to 15, something like that. So if we were significantly higher than that, there's a chance that it wouldn't, but I don't think we are. Let me find out. Okay, so to calculate our approximate ABV, we started at 1.106. We ended at 0.998. That brings us 108 points, or 0.108 gravity times 131.25. If you're curious, yep, we just gave in because, it really isn't that different. So we just use what everybody else is using now.
Again, resistance is futile.
Yep. And this is 14.17. So I'm going to call it about 14, which means it's anywhere from like 13, 14 and a half, something like that. So we'll call it 14%. Now, there's a possibility that Premier Rouge wouldn't re-ferment this, but it's on that borderline. I'm not comfortable with that. So rather than have a potential re-fermentation, we're going to pasteurize this and be done. And then it's going to sit for about a week.
But first, we're going to take a gravity reading so that way we can let you know how much sweetness we added.
Exactly. I almost forgot. Because without that, you wouldn't have any clue what we did. And we always do it this way because knowing a finite volume doesn't make sense when the volume could be different on your end. Instead, we'd rather do it to our personal preference after tasting it. And your personal preference may be different than ours. You might like it sweeter. You might like it drier. I thought for sure this was going to be like 1050 or something. No, it's actually only 1.028. All right, so like I said, rack this back to a fermenter, pasteurize it, put it in the ferment station for about a week, and we'll be back to give you a score. Okay, so it's been a week. It's time to taste it. How'd we do? Give it a judgment. Give it a score.
Now, there has been some sediment that has fallen out, which is lovely. That means when we get to around to bottling it, we'll have nice clear bottles.
Yes.
It is super dark.
It's dark.
Well, in here it's super
In
dark.
there it's dark, but...
Oh, okay.
It's got a nice clarity to it. I wouldn't say it's perfectly clear, but I don't care about it being perfectly clear, to be honest. Oh, I just smelled peanut butter. It's got a really nice color. It looks kind of jammy, like a grape jam. Wow. On the smell, it is peanut butter. And then there's that sweetness coming through. Ooh, this is going to be good.
Like, leave me hanging there.
It barely touched my lip. Thank you. That is okay. Here's what it's got. When you first, I almost said when you first take a bite because it reminds me of a peanut butter and jelly. When you first get it in your mouth, the peanut butter comes through, like the roasty toastiness of peanut butter is there. And then as it goes, the acidity and the sweetness of the Concord grape comes through. And it's like, oh my God, it's like peanut butter and then jelly hits your tongue.
Do you ever get the sensation of popcorn when you eat fresh roasted peanuts?
Yes.
I'm getting that.
Yeah, kind of. It's that roasty toasty thing. Yep, that's exactly what that is. This is 14%. This will knock you on your butt.
This is danger juice because this is just happy fun time.
This is really good. I mean, there's an ever so slight astringency at the back end that isn't my favorite thing. But it's not like that offensive. I just, I just like to verbalize. If something bothers me about it, I want to tell you.
Sure.
I don't know how we could fix that at this point, at this juncture. I don't think we need to, because I'm afraid if we change pH or anything like that, that we could be altering its preservative qualities, you might say.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the balance of honey to peanut butter to jelly is like just right. Really, really nice.
Ready to do a little song and dance.
Oh, yeah? Go ahead.
Peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time.
I wanted her to do that for the intro. I might just have to cut that and make it the intro.
I was inspired, but now I'm inspired to get down and boogie.
And you've already seen that if you're watching the video to this time, most likely. That was so good. Do you want some more?
I really do.
Okay. Here you go.
I don't need it, but I really do want some more.
This is very nice. I was unsure exactly what direction this was going to go. Like, this could be one of those, like, this is awesome, or this is kind of gross.
This is all that in a bag of chips. I'm so pleased.
I don't get any potato chips.
When Brian was like,
We could
it was
have had
your
potato
idea
chips.
to make this, or was it my idea?
It was my idea.
It was, of course, it was Brian's idea. I think I kind of poo-pooed the idea.
She did.
I did.
Why?
Because it just seems mundane, pedestrian.
I've seen others try to make PB&J Mead. I've read about it and stuff.
This is fantastic.
And they always kind of, I don't know, didn't feel like they were quite the way we would have done it. And I'm not saying that they were wrong. I'm just saying it didn't come out the way I would have wanted it to. So that's why I wanted to do it. And no, this doesn't have any of the bread flavor in it. But it's not called a peanut butter and jelly sandwich mead. It's called peanut butter and jelly mead. Just to be technical. Just saying. I like this. I think
love
this. Is very good.
I could drink a dangerously large amount of this.
Yeah. What's really awesome is that peanut butter extract really does add the peanut butter flavor, but it adds the feel of peanut butter, which is what's unique. Like that kind of, like you said, the popcorn thing. Mm-hmm. I get like a roasty, smoky thing that sticks with you in the exhale and everything. It's just really awesome. Just like what you would get from peanut butter and jelly. By the way, the reason I wanted to make this is because one of my favorite things when I'm bored or I just want a snack is I will make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Probably because in my youth, I wasn't allowed to put much peanut butter or jelly on them. And now that I'm an adult and there's nobody there to tell me no, I put as much as I want.
Put on as much as he wants.
They're like this thick. I mean, I'm kidding. It's not that bad, but there is something to that. All right. So, wow. All right. I guess we need to start putting a score on this. We do have our scorecard up on the screen with descriptions of the scoring system, so I don't have to go over it every time. Now I got to think, though. All right. I got to score. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 9.
9.5.
I couldn't quite go to 10. That little tiny bit of bitterness.
That's why I went to 9.5.
Yeah. Well, I guess I took a point off for it because it was that. But we're getting really picky.
It's really drinkable. And because it's really
beautiful.
Drinkable, I'm taking another sip before that lingering note gets to linger too much.
You want more?
I've got myself off.
Oh, you said another sip.
No.
Oh.
When I take a sip and the flavor profile gets to that.
Oh, you just take another sip.
I just take another sip. And then I'm right.
Something I'd like to point out. We started this on December 16th. Today is January 20th. So this is literally like not quite 5 weeks old, or it is 5 weeks old. And it's very drinkable as is. I could put this in bottles and share it with friends and be perfectly.
If it made it out the door, though.
Yeah. But what we're going to do with it is we're going to bottle it eventually, probably in a few months.
Because we do have that sediment that fell out. We're going to give it some time to see if any more falls out. So we'll have even cleaner bottles.
To mellow and start the aging process. The clearer it'll be, the better it'll be, the cleaner our bottles. But one of those bottles is going to go away for a year from like today. Okay. And at that point, we'll be back to show you what this tastes like in a year. And the rest, she's going to drink them. I'm probably going to help. This is an amazing mead. It came out a little better than I expected it to. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
Bye-bye.